Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Power. That's right, the podcast where we talk about our love for vinyl records and share it with you. Join us each week as we bring you the latest in vinyl releases, what's in our vinyl collection, and wrap it up with epic vinyl. That's right here, each and every week, with your hosts, the Reverend Jeff Kelly and Harris. Once again, welcome to Vinyl Power. Harris. Hey, everybody. We are live here at Vinyl Power. It's a week before Thanksgiving. That's right. We're in November. There, Kurt. And that's who I want to introduce next. That's right. Mr. Kurt, your friendly neighborhood music man, Harris. How are you doing this evening, sir? Why don't you introduce us to your guest as well?
I am doing great this evening. Almighty Ayatollah of holiday. Rock and roll. Now that we're in the holiday season, I'm doing great. Couldn't be any better. Of course, it is November, and November was kind of stuck in my mind even in October, as you remember so well. The reason for that is I'd like to introduce our guest this evening, which is the lovely music-loving lady from around the world, Miyuki, my better half, and she is going to assist tonight with holding up our records and our epic record. And although you won't hear much from her because, of course, I have the mic, she is here, and she definitely looks better than I do, and that's a good thing.
The Vanna White of Vinyl Power. That's right.
Exactly.
Always bringing it to you. Hey, let's take a look. It's a real fast release calendar this week. The Carpenters, the collection, is being released on November 17th. I bet you that's just going to be fantastic. Fitz is releasing All Belief is a Paradise. Lucinda Williams with This Sweet Old World. Queen is releasing Killer Queen.
Sweet.
I don't know, SZA. You need an extra vowel in there, people.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
with control. CTRL. Yeah, I'm sure of course it's supposed to be za with control, but y'all are idiots. Sorry. The Far Side, spelled really screwed up. That's just like the Wonders. That's retarded. With Bizarre Ride 2. Various artists, the Zodiac songs from the motion picture. That's what's coming your way. You'll see them popping up in the record groups on Facebook this week. Speaking of Facebook, join us at facebook.com at Vinyl Power Podcast. That puts you right into our page. Click and like, share it with your friends. Click the YouTube subscribe button. Do any of those good things for us because, you know, it is Vinyl Power. Hey, Kurt, I got to ask you, man. What have you been spending this week, man? It's been a weird week for me.
Well, it was interesting. I always bring a theme to the table, and I got caught this week, and I said to myself, you know, I'm kind of spinning these same records over and over, and I need to bring them to the table, and so that's exactly what I'm doing. And so the first record that I was spinning this week, and here we are, held up by, yes, the lovely Vanna White of Vinyl Power.
Yeah, I have a...
Now,
right. I got a copy of one of those, man. That's one of my favorites.
This what we have here is the first Creedence Clearwater Revival record, 1968. It's on the Fantasy label. Interesting thing quickly about Creedence, just the fact that, you know, when I first heard Creedence Clearwater Revival, I thought, well, you know, obviously these guys live in Louisiana, Mississippi, somewhere down in the South where you've got swamps and bayous, and these guys are from Los Angeles.
Yeah. Not swamp donkeys.
Yeah, exactly.
Hippies from Los Angeles is what they were, but boy, they had the heart of Louisiana, that's for sure.
They certainly did. I mean, you know,
I mean, because literally, Doot looking out my back door was probably looking at friggin' potheads, dope heads, and some friggin' heroin fiends.
Well, you know what? When I was I'll say quickly, when I was researching this, the song Green River one of their many great songs. And I looked at it, and there was a little description of how the song came about. And I'm thinking, yeah, you know, you're down on the bayou, Green River, you're doing some fishing on a lazy Sunday afternoon. No, no, no. Green River was the name of a frosty drink that John Fogerty used to get in Los Angeles that was lime flavored and called Green River. It's just like my heart was burst. I'm like, come on, guys. I thought you were like hanging under the willows, you know? But no, it's a frosty drink. Anyways, first album, 1968, fantasy label. Songs like I Put a Spell on You and Susie Q obviously showed the band had potential, and it did reach number 52 on the U.S. chart. So, you know, kind of respectable for a band out of nowhere. And then the next one. And yes, the next one just happens to be Creedence Clearwater Revival, number 2, Bayou Country. 1969. Oh, what a great record, right? Born on the Bayou, Proud Mary. Now, interesting thing here, second album, 1969, not quite a year later in actual time, but 1969. This one reached number 7 on the U.S. charts and number 62 on the U.K. So, you know, it made a little bit of a splash across the pond. But certainly another album that continued on with the formula the band had developed, and it was proven to be popular. And then move on to the next one. And the next one, almost these two covers have always thrown me because they're so similar. It is Creedence Clearwater Revival,
more Creedence, that's
number
right.
3 record, Green River. Again,
I don't have this one. I'm looking for it.
Okay, get this one. As far as I'm concerned, for me personally, this is my favorite. For other people, it would be something to come a little bit in a minute. But anyways, 1969 again. So the same year as the second album. So this is their third. This one actually is number 95 on the Rolling Stones top 500 records of all time. And it reached number 1 in the US and number 20 in the UK. So basically 1 year and time-wise after they released their first record, which went to number 52, they had reached number 7 in the US with their second record and number 1 with their third record. So they were on a roll. And moving forward to the next one.
Imagine this. I wonder what it's going to be.
Yes, it is actually. You are right on target. It's Creedence Clearwater Revival's 4th record, Willie and the Poor Boys. And again, 1969.
Now, see, this one wasn't really on my radar. I mean, I've seen it a couple of times. I've kind of passed over it because I don't recognize a lot of the songs on it. But
well, basically, Down on the Corner,
out
in the street, yeah. And then, you know, Fortunate Son, which obviously was one of the big songs from, you know, the Vietnam War. The Midnight Special.
Okay.
This is a little
probably why I left it behind, because there were better records to pick up that particular day.
Just a moment more. And one interesting thing about this album, they happen to be big fans, Creedence, of Stax Records, which is, and if you ever seen the original Blues Brothers movie, and you realize that the band that was backing up the Blues Brothers was the Stax Record Band, which is Booker T and the MGs. So you've got Booker T. Jones, Steve Cropper, Donald Duck Dunn, and Al Jackson, who are all on this album, make appearances. It did reach number 3 in the US and number 10 in the UK. So here we are, 4th record, and basically we're just more than a year into their career. They've already got 4 albums out, and 3 of the records, well, 2 of them are inside the top 5 and 1 is in the top 7. And so,
well, boy, nobody told them the magic formula to make money. They sure made the record label money that year.
Oh, Fantasy Records could not have been happier. And then I'm going to a 5th record this time, just because I want to finish this off.
That's all good. Yeah. Right. Now that one I do have in my collection already.
You do, and I've seen it. So 1970, finally we have graduated from 1969, and we're in 1970 with Cosmo's Factory. For many people, this is their favorite Creedence record. This is their 5th album. It reached number 1 in the US, number 1 in the UK, number 1 in Australia, number 1 in Canada, number 1 in France, number 1 in the Netherlands, and number 1 in Italy. So this album, this album So basically, in roughly a year and a half time, they had put out 5 records and taken radio stations and the Billboard charts by storm. So everything on this, it's listed as one of the best albums. And if I just read out just a few songs, Traveling Band, Looking Out My Back Door, Run Through the Jungle, Up Around the Bend, Who Will Stop the Rain?
Who'll Stop the Rain? Yes.
Heard It Through the Grapevine. Obviously songs that most everybody knows. And yeah, you can go ahead and put that away. Thank you, honey. And so basically that's where I went this week. And I brought 5 to the table. I could have stopped at 4, but I said, hey, let's go ahead and finish it off with this great run this band had over like a year and a half's time. And so that's what we spun during this week, was a lot of Creedence Clearwater Revival. And so having said that, I have to ask you, Reverend Jeff, what great records were you spinning as we get closer to this holiday season?
That's right. Well, that's one of the things. I went record digging not too long ago, and these are some of the really cool finds that I had found during that process. They've got some new guys at my record store, and lo and behold, there isn't quite as much hoarding going on. Some of the things are actually hitting the bins that should have been hitting the bins all along. Oh, it's funny how that thing's kind of happened. So, you know, I found this absolutely 100% brand new copy of Chicago 18. Like literally unopened. The cellophane was unopened. Now it is a promo copy. It's got a notched corner, but the cellophane was, I slid it open. I mean, and I got to tell you, it was dirty. Now, it wasn't really dirty. It was paper clipping, you know, the paper debris from the inner paper sleeve and everything else of it sliding back and forth inside of this cover since it was brand new. So it literally had to be cleaned right out of a brand new sleeve, but oh, it was perfect. I mean, it was just, I don't remember in my lifetime, and but I don't remember in my lifetime, especially in my adulthood, slitting open a brand new record and putting it on a quality turntable and actually playing it for the very first time. And I played this one 3 times in a row, both sides.
Oh, excellent.
It was just such a great record. It has everything that Niagara Falls Forever. 25 or 6 to 4 is the big one that's on this particular one. Released in September of 1986. It came right after, of course, Chicago 17, which was like the one that I knew growing up. You know, Chicago 17 had everything on it that I wouldn't want, but this thing literally had 4 hits on one side of it. You know, how can you really go bad with that? You really can't. And plus, it's Chicago.
No, you can't.
There's horns in the band. You know, I mean, you can't go wrong when there's horns in the band. You really can't. It might not be rock and roll, but it's damn good to listen to. And then one of my most favorite bands, and of course this record I didn't have in my collection, Kansas, The Spirit of Things.
I love Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, this one really, it's got Ghosts, One Big Sky, Inside of Me. It's got a lot of stuff that people don't really recognize off the top, but it doesn't matter because it's Kansas. You just put it on and enjoy it. I sit around and listen to a lot of Kansas, like literally over here in my stack, I have every Kansas album I own. And this album set me on that journey of re-listening to them again. So if you don't have this one, if this isn't one of your favorite Kansas albums, it doesn't matter. It's Kansas. Put it on the turntable because it's fantastic.
I completely agree. Great choice.
Now, In the Spirit of Things. Now, that one came to us in 1988. It's concept album telling of the story of a flood hitting the real Kansas City of Neosho Falls in 1951. So it's one of those things where you can sit around, have a couple of drinks, smoke a doobie, and, you know, just listen to it for what it is and kind of follow along. It's sort of like Dark Side of the Moon is it The Wall with the Wizard of Oz?
Dark Side of the Moon, I believe, with the Wizard of Oz.
Then I had to do some rocking So,
oh yeah,
The Ultimate Sin, baby. That's right. Ozzy Osbourne, 1986. This is an original pressing. It's not the remastered or the reissue. Uh, it is the final appearance of the lead guitarist Jake E. Lee and the first and only Osbourne album to feature the bassist Phil Sassoon. I think that's how you pronounce that guy's last name.
well, Jakey Lee was a great guitarist, no doubt about that.
Absolutely. The big single was Shout in the Dark. Drummer Randy Castillo, who had previously played with Lita Ford's band, also made his recording debut with Osbourne on this one, dude. And this, I don't care. You sit around and listen to Ozzy all day long because it's Ozzy Osbourne. But The Ultimate Sin itself, you know, that's one of my favorite tracks off of the album. And you can tell that Ozzy really, really enjoyed it. I don't know why that is, but some of them you can tell they really enjoyed recording, and some of them it's just like, let's get it in the can, guys. At least to my ears.
Oh,
and
well,
then
you can definitely hear it.
What can you follow Ozzy Osbourne up with? Well, you follow Ozzy Osbourne up with Kiss. That's right.
I was made for loving you, baby.
That's
there it is. Dynasty.
There it is. Dynasty, right? That was the big hit. Besides, you know, You Sure Know Something, Dirty Living, Hard Times, X-Ray Eyes. This one was 1979, May 23rd, the 7th studio album, and in full makeup. I mean, I like the makeup albums. I'm sorry, I don't like the non-makeup albums. The gimmick was, if you're gonna keep the gimmick, do the gimmick. But this was, you know, really billed as the return of Kiss, as they hadn't really released anything since 1977's Love Gun. So here we are with Dynasty, and that's what I've been spinning on my turntable this week, man. I mean, there's some other stuff that's in there, but these were the better of the groups that came through. The wife got a lot of pop this week, so we've been listening to a lot of weird stuff. Hats without men, and men with no coats, and, you know, gentlemen with no underwear. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't quite get, but it was all fun, and that's really what it comes down to, is enjoying yourselves with the records that are on the turntable. So I got to ask you, pal, let's take a look and see who's out there in the live hangout with us today. How about that?
Yeah, who's hanging out?
Who's hanging out in the chat box? Well, of course, Mr. Lance Windsor. That's right. Yeah, he is out there hanging out with us, swinging his tool around. That's right. I gave him a tool because he's always here and on the job. Rod Dupree, he's always in the place to be.
The place to be.
The life and times of JCM. Hello, Jevin.
Jevin.
Yeah, he's hanging out tonight with us.
Glad you're
Sam Squanch. Sam Squanch Rivera is in the house with us as well.
Mr. Sam.
And that looks to be about it. But that's like two more than that's like two more than usual. So hey, we're doing all right this week. We've doubled our numbers.
Hey, we're doing great.
Yeah, that's right. Everything is working out just fine. With that, you know, I'm sure Starshine will get a chance to listen to it, as well Cassie and Christopher. So we got to say hello to them as well. And we can get back to what we were doing. Hey, Kurt, which epic record did you bring along for us right here the week before Thanksgiving?
Well, I delivered, you know, basically my whole collection of CCR, and there was something else I was spinning, and no, it's not the same. I wouldn't call it in the same category, but in a way it kind of comes from the same place, and that would be the 4th record by Jethro Tull, Jethro Tull's Aqualung. And
hey, Aqualung.
You know,
one of my favorites.
In every way, this is an epic record. There's nothing that you couldn't look at about this record that wouldn't just say epic. I mean, if you're talking about at the time period FM radio hits, it had one after another. It was their top-selling record of Jethro Tull's amazing career. It was certainly the record where they had went from a more folk-based sort of rock to a more progressive blend of rock. They had some lineup changes. A lot came together on this record. It is their 4th album, 1971. Now, some people will tell you this is a concept record that the band is basically discussing across the record the concepts of religion versus actual faith. Now, if you talk to Ian Anderson himself, he will tell you that that's actually not the case. It's just that 4 or 5 songs do entertain that direction, but it wasn't the direction of the whole album. So that's just basically from him. It was recorded, one very interesting thing, it was recorded at Island Records in the UK. And 1971, Jethro Tull's 4th album, what was recorded, Island Records was a converted church. And it was, made into different rooms, of course. Well, in the bigger room, you had Jethro Tull recording Aqualung. In the smaller room, Led Zeppelin was recording Led Zeppelin 4 at exactly the same time.
Nice. So, you got Aqualung on the big stage, and you've got Stairway to Heaven on the small stage.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
In a church at that.
In a church, a converted church at that, exactly right. And this did well on the charts. Of course, it had to go up against, like CCR. So as you can see, they were really stealing the top of the charts in this time period. But it reached number 4 in the UK, number 7 in the US, and something I know you will enjoy because it's something that you've looked into lately. This was one of the few albums, and one of only, it's either the only one or one of only 2 ever released by Jethro Tull that was also released in quad. So there was an actual quadraphonic version of this album, which I've never seen, but it must be really cool. And with this one, I've got to.
Just saw a quadraphonic Toys in the Attic at the shop the other day, and I didn't buy it. I should have. I really, really should have, but.
And that's what I was thinking about with you when I was researching a little more onto this album and realized that they had also put out a quad version. I know that you've seen recently some different older receiver amplifiers that have quadraphonic capability. The headphones that have the quadraphonic capability.
Yeah, even found quadraphonic headphones, which is what I really would like to get into.
And so, I mean, you could actually still put together an actual old school quadraphonic setup. And like you say, you found the Aerosmith album. There actually were some albums, The Who's, Quadrophenia, of course.
I bet you Discogs is probably just a treasure trove of them. I'm sure they're out there. They sold thousands of them. I can't say millions, but they sold tens of thousands of them.
Oh, they surely did. And on a last interesting note about this particular record, this is actually the 2015 remix and remake, and I don't know if you can read it very well, but there at the very bottom, remixed by Steven Wilson. And as everybody who knows me knows,
very cool.
He is my absolute favorite artist. And so he was given the master tapes by Ian Anderson. He was given Benefit, Passion Play, I believe maybe Heavy Horses, and possibly one other. And he's went through all of them. And one interesting thing that you get with this, with the Steven Wilson remix and remaster, is you get this fantastic large picture and information book with all these many pictures and information about the album. At the very end, you get a little bit about Steven himself and his work on the record. But basically it's the 40th anniversary LP edition, the Steven Wilson stereo remix of this, what I would definitely consider an epic record, Jethro Tull's Aqualung, sitting on a park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. I mean, when you hear that, you're like, oh, that's kind of degenerate, isn't it? But in the end, they kind of make you feel sorry for this guy, right? The old man warms his feet. You kind of have to feel a little bit bad for him, right? They show him here. And this artwork actually came from photographs of Ian Anderson's wife had went out and actually photographed homeless people. And Jeff, I know you are the same way as I am. Certainly we would like to see homeless people get the help they need to get off the streets.
More friggin' empty houses in America than there are homeless people right now.
That's right. There's no reason to have homeless people in this country.
No, absolutely not. You can turn containers into apartments, but we still let, we put up concrete spikes so they can't lay down instead of putting up container apartments for them to sleep in. I mean, I don't understand it.
Yeah, so that's something that you and I both have a strong opinion on. And So basically, this artwork was commissioned off of an actual photo that Ian Anderson's wife took. And Ian had said,
I hope the bum got a royalty for every record that they sold, and he wasn't a bum anymore.
He didn't. He actually didn't. And Ian Anderson, though, actually came out in later years and said we should have used the photo and we should have used some of the royalties to do some good with the homeless people that we had went down and photographed. Absolutely. So just a little bit of interesting backstory on what is a fantastic record. Probably a lot of people say Thick as a Brick, maybe their favorite. This is their top selling. Benefit might be my favorite, but this is right there. And I'll just quickly say Aqualung, Cross-Eyed Mary, Hymn 43, Locomotive Breath, so much that was on here. You would hear constantly on FM radio as staples, and just a great epic record. And it's one I was really glad to bring to the table, even though I'm following all that CCR. It's one I was really glad to bring to the table this week. And so I have to ask you, oh Ayatollah of holiday rock and rolla, what epic record are you bringing to the table for our many fans who are hanging out? And thank you for hanging out with us and enjoying this musical journey with us. What are you bringing to the table, Reverend Jeff?
Well, you know, it is the holiday season. I don't care what people think. No, I'm not playing it constantly, but next week is already going to be Thanksgiving. And yesterday I did exactly tell the wife to put on a very special Christmas. Now, this one is from 1986, I believe. Let me get that right. Nope, 1987 was the original. I'm sorry. This is the one, though, that has this is the lineup on this is amazing. U2, Stevie Nicks, John Bon Jovi, Madonna, Smashing Pumpkins, No Doubt, Whitney Houston, Run DMC, Jason Mraz, Willie Nelson, Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, and the Heartbreakers. Okay, this is that record that you want to jam to when it comes to Christmas time. Literally, all of the proceeds that these made actually went out to the Special Olympics, which I'm a proud champion for the Special Olympics. It's getting to be donation time to where people are giving money to charity. Please don't give it to the Red Cross. Don't give it to UNICEF. Give that money to the Special Olympics. Give it to somebody who deserves it. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. Don't give it to Wounded Warriors either. Look into that charity before you donate another penny. Just telling you. Anyhow, I know that the Special Olympics, I've personally been involved with the Special Olympics for years and years, and I just love the fact that they did all these records. Now, the last one of these was released was 2012, bringing Peace on Earth. So they've actually ended the series on this, but a lot of money was donated to the Special Olympics and went to help a lot of people. But this one particularly has the Pointer Sisters with Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the Eurythmics with Winter Wonderland, Whitney Houston, Do You Hear What I Hear, or Do You Smoke What I Smoke? Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band with Merry Christmas Baby, The Pretenders with Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, John Cougar Mellencamp with I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, Sting with Gabriel's Message, Run DMC with Christmas in the Hollis. Dude, boom, boom. That's the clip that I sent you the other day. When, man, it was from Die Hard. There are two types of Christmas people in this world: people that think Die Hard's a Christmas movie, and people who are wrong. Madonna sings Santa Baby. Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band with the Little Drummer Boy, Brian Adams with Run Rudolph Run, Bon Jovi with Backdoor Santa. I wonder what he knows about backdoors. Alice Boyette with the Kevin Tree Carol and Stevie Nicks with Silent Night, and all of that for the low price of $6.
Oh, you can't beat that.
No, you can't be. I'm looking for more of these if I can find them. And each week as we get closer to Christmas, of course, probably through the new year, I'll feature another Christmas album. I've got some that are over there that are really, really good that I haven't listened to yet. Like I said, it wasn't time. I bought them. but I hadn't listened to them yet. So, it just wasn't time to listen to them yet. But now I think one a day between now and Christmas time, I think that's kind of appropriate. What do you think?
I like it. I think it's a good plan. And I'm glad that was the record you brought to the table. Not only is that an awesome record with an amazing lineup, it was done for a good purpose.
Yeah, and back in a time when it was okay to do Christmas stuff. You'll never see any of this stuff today.
Oh, you're right.
It's not politically correct to do Christmas stuff anymore.
No, it's not. You're right.
It's not good to market to 4.5 billion people on the planet, dumbass. Seriously, I mean, there's 4.5 billion Catholics on the planet. Well, maybe not that high. It's like maybe 2 billion. But I mean, still, you're not marketing to those people. Why? Because I don't know. Whatever. That's y'all, man. I'm glad to be doing this. I'm digging the vinyl. We're going to go dig tomorrow, I think. So, at Vinyl Power Podcast, that's us. That's where we'll be. Facebook, YouTube, Twitterverse. Oh, join us next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. instead of Thursday.
Wednesday. Be there or be square.
Because we're going to go eat turkey on Thursday.